Hello, friend, and welcome to The Sleepy Meteorologist. Tonight, we're drifting gently into the swirling, ocean-born world of hurricanes, those vast, slow-turning systems that breathe across warm waters and shape the skies with their graceful power. Not the dramatic kind from headlines or warnings, but the softened version, the quiet rhythm beneath the surface, the poetry within the pattern. Maybe your day has been long, or maybe your thoughts are just ready to rest. Either way, this is your space now. You've arrived. How's the sky looking where you are tonight? Maybe it's cloud-draped, or maybe just softly dim. Whatever you find outside your window, it's just right for this moment. This journey is not about urgency. It's about curiosity without pressure, understanding without strain, and finding comfort in the quiet stories of the atmosphere. If these bedtime voyages into weather bring you ease, you're always welcome to like or subscribe, but only if it feels peaceful to do so. For now, you can snuggle in. Let your breath match the rhythm of the tides. Let your shoulders settle, and let's begin. We begin in the tropics, where the sun has been warming the ocean for weeks, perhaps months, without rush, without pause. Day after day, its golden light settles across the sea's surface like a quiet breath, soaking into the top layers of water until they hold a warmth that's steady and deep. This warmth doesn't shout. It hums softly, continuously. Above this warm cradle, the air begins to stir, not with wind or warning, but with the faintest imbalance. A place where the sky feels just a little lighter, where the air has grown moist from evaporation. The surface of the ocean releases its heat like a sigh, and that heat begins to rise. Not all at once, not with drama, but slowly. Like steam from a quiet bath, the water vapor lifts upward into the sky. The air that rises cools slightly as it climbs, allowing the moisture to condense into tiny floating droplets, clouds in their most delicate form. This process is called convection, and though the word may sound technical, the feeling of it is soft, warm air rising, like the beginning of a dream. The atmosphere is listening. Though there's no storm yet, the stage is being set. The sky is beginning to take notice. These subtle movements are part of a larger pattern, a rhythm that unfolds across thousands of miles. It begins with heat, yes, but more than that, it begins with patience. Hurricanes are never born in an instant. They are slow creations. They drift up from nothing, from stillness, from a single place where the sky and sea are having a quiet conversation. Somewhere, a cluster of thunderstorms gathers in the distance. They flicker softly on the satellite screen, tiny sparks within a vast and sleeping ocean. These storms may fade, or they may linger, feeding gently on the warmth below, organizing ever so slightly. And if the winds above them are not too disruptive, if the air continues to rise in a steady spiral, then the seeds of something more may begin to take root. It's not a storm yet. It's not even a name. Just a soft center, a pulse in the atmosphere, a deep, ancient breath drawn in slowly across the tropics. The clouds are still scattered, the winds are light, and the world continues on, unaware of the gentle birth taking place far over the open sea. But for those who look closely, for those who study the atmosphere with quiet reverence, this is the moment when a storm begins. Not with thunder, not with lightning, but with warmth, with moisture, and with a slow, swirling lift toward the sky. The gentle beginning of a storm is not something you see, it's something you sense. A calm before the calm, a hush before the spiral. And in this hush, something is awakening. Beneath the soft shimmer of tropical waters, a quiet process unfolds, slowly, gently, and without fanfare. It begins not with wind, but with warmth, not with noise, but with the faintest rise of invisible breath. This is where all hurricanes begin, with the ocean whispering upward. The sun, in its long, patient journey across the sky, lingers over the equator, day after day, month after month, sending radiant energy into the open sea. The surface responds in kind, growing warm, supple, and quietly vibrant. This heat doesn't remain idle. It builds, softly, like warmth, gathering in your hands after holding a hot cup of tea. And as the temperature of the ocean climbs, something delicate begins to happen. The air just above the water starts to heat up as well. It becomes lighter, less dense, more eager to rise. And as it lifts, it carries with it something precious: moisture, invisible, weightless, and full of potential. This is water vapor, drawn upward from the sea's surface in a movement so smooth, so subtle, it barely seems like movement at all. It is, in essence, the atmosphere's version of an exhale. This rising motion marks the birth of convection. In meteorology, convection is the engine that drives all storms, from the smallest passing cloud to the vast, slow-turning spirals of a hurricane. But at this early stage, it is anything but fierce. It is calm, rhythmic, even meditative. You might imagine it like steam rising from a gentle bath on a cool night. A slow drift upward, curling slightly, disappearing into the air. That is what this looks like at the very beginning. Warm, moist air, lifting with no urgency, forming small clusters of clouds that drift across the tropics. As the air rises and cools, its water vapor begins to condense into droplets. Each droplet releases a touch of heat, called latent heat, and that heat helps more air to rise. One step leads to another. Warmth begets lift. Lift creates clouds, and clouds feed warmth back into the cycle. It is a loop, but not a rush. A pattern, but not a demand. A quiet feedback dance between sea and sky. When this happens, across a large stretch of warm ocean, the effect can be mesmerizing from above. Meteorologists might see these clouds on satellite images, blooming and fading like breath across a mirror. Some clusters disappear within a day, others linger, building slightly, shifting shape, becoming more organized. But it all depends on the ocean. The sea must remain warm, generally above 26 or 27 degrees Celsius, to keep fueling this motion. Without that warmth, the rising slows, the clouds wither, the cycle ends. But when the heat continues, the whisper becomes a hum, and the hum becomes a pulse. This is the foundation of a tropical system, a slow lifting of moisture, born from warmth and nurtured by calm skies. If the winds above remain steady and the ocean continues to offer its heat, then this lifting will deepen. The clouds will grow, and somewhere within this cloud-filled cradle, the beginnings of rotation may quietly form. But for now, there is no spiral, no storm, just the ocean, whispering upward, sending its warmth skyward in one continuous, dreamy breath. In the stillness above warm tropical seas, something begins to shift, quietly, gently, like a breath drawn in and held for just a moment. It begins with rising air. Slowly, steadily, warm, moist air lifts from the surface of the ocean and drifts upward into the sky. With every soft ascent, a change is left behind. That change is pressure, or more specifically, lower pressure, but not the kind of pressure we often imagine. There is no sudden vacuum, no swirl of intensity. This low pressure center is born in calmness, in softness. It is not an absence, but an invitation. As the air rises, the surface pressure gently drops, creating a space, a delicate hollow that invites more air to gather in response. Imagine lying on a quiet beach at dusk, the tide slowly slipping out, leaving behind ripples in the sand. That's what this low pressure is like, not an emptiness, but a soft retreat, a signal to the atmosphere that something is unfolding, that the air has somewhere to go, somewhere to be drawn. The atmosphere, always in motion but never in haste, responds to this change. Air from surrounding areas begins to drift inward toward the low pressure center, not with urgency, not with force, but like a feather drawn toward a faint breeze. This is how the gentle engine begins. The lower the pressure drops, the more steadily air flows inward. That inward motion is called convergence. And just as before, the air that enters this space does not remain still. It too begins to rise, warmed by the sea, filled with vapor, ready to join the lifting column of the sky. As it does, clouds bloom softly above, shaped by this upward motion. Each cloud is a response to rising air, each one a delicate brushstroke across the sky's growing canvas. And as more air rises, the pressure continues to dip ever so slightly. At the center of all this is the low pressure core, a spot so gentle it might go unnoticed, without instruments. But to those who study the sky, it is the beginning of something special, not because it is loud or commanding, but because it is balanced, poised, still becoming. This central area is where the air is rising most rapidly, and because air is being pulled away vertically, it can't press down on the surface. That's why the pressure stays low. It's like a soft exhale with no inhale just yet. This calm center, barely formed, barely visible, is often the first real clue that a system is beginning to organize, that the atmosphere is paying attention, that the gentle mechanisms are falling into place. And still, everything remains quiet. The winds are not fierce. The rain may not even fall. But the structure is forming, a system guided by warmth, lifted by moisture, and held together by the unseen patterns of pressure and flow. Somewhere far above, satellites watch this quiet gathering. On the maps, it may be labeled an invest area or a disturbance. But beneath the labels, something more poetic is unfolding. A gentle spiral in the making, a calm center waiting to deepen. This is how a storm takes shape, not with flashing lights or crashing sound, but with softness, with the rise and fall of air, with the low pressure that signals not danger, but possibility. The heart of a future hurricane begins in this peaceful place. A stillness surrounded by motion, a center defined not by chaos, but by calm. Above the Earth's curved surface, something quiet yet powerful is always in motion. It's not a sound, and it isn't something we can see directly, but it is always there, gently guiding the rhythm of the winds and the slow ballet of the sky. This unseen hand is called the Coriolis effect, and it plays a soft, essential role in the birth of a hurricane. It begins with the Earth itself, as our planet turns slowly on its axis, completing one graceful spin every 24 hours. Everything above and around it is gently pulled along, not in a straight line, but in a subtle curve. Air, though invisible, is not exempt from this motion. As it flows across the surface of the globe, the Coriolis effect nudges it ever so slightly to the right in the northern hemisphere and to the left in the southern. And in this gentle nudge, storms begin to spiral. At first, This rotation is barely noticeable. The system is still young, still forming, still unsure. But as warm air continues to rise and surface, winds begin to drift toward the low-pressure center. The Earth's rotation begins to leave its quiet fingerprint on the air's path. Instead of flowing directly into the center, the winds begin to curve. The soft inward pull of converging air becomes a circular dance. A slow, counterclockwise swirl begins to emerge in the northern hemisphere, or a clockwise one in the southern. A spiral shaped not by force, but by guidance. This is the Coriolis embrace. It doesn't create the storm, but it gives the storm its signature spin. Without it, the air might rise and fall, but it would lack structure. The graceful arms of a hurricane, those vast cloud bands curling out from the center, owe their formation to this invisible influence. And yet, the Coriolis effect only works when conditions are right. Near the equator, where the effect is weakest, storms struggle to find their spin. That's why hurricanes almost never form in the very center of the tropics. They need a little distance, usually at least 5 degrees of latitude, so the Earth's turn can be felt enough to set things in motion. But once the rotation begins, it deepens, it strengthens, it organizes, and still it remains smooth, dreamlike. If you could watch from high above, you'd see the clouds beginning to curve around a center that is only just taking shape. The spin is slow at first, gentle, like watching cream swirl into coffee, or petals float in a circular current. As the system becomes more structured, the spin helps with ventilation. Warm, moist air continues to rise in the center, while cooler, drier air begins to spiral outward aloft. It's a graceful two-way flow that maintains the storm's growing rhythm, inward, upward, outward, a kind of breathing shaped by the planet itself. The Coriolis effect never roars, it never flashes, it never hurries, but without it, there would be no spiral, no eye, no iconic shape stretching across the satellite view, just scattered storms with no dance to hold them. In this way, the Earth itself becomes a quiet choreographer, subtly guiding every storm that spins, lending its motion to the atmosphere above. Every hurricane that forms is touched by this embrace, and every swirl in the sky is a soft echo of the planet's turning. There comes a moment in the life of a storm when something quiet becomes something noticed. A subtle threshold is crossed, not with thunder, not with urgency, but with structure. And in that moment, the gathering clouds earn a name. That name is tropical depression. It doesn't sound intense. In fact, it sounds gentle. And in many ways, it is. A tropical depression is not yet a storm. It is the beginning of one, a loosely formed spiral of clouds and winds, gently rotating over warm waters, drawing in breath from the sea and sky. Meteorologists recognize it when certain soft patterns emerge. Winds begin to circle more consistently. Pressures dip slightly lower. The system holds together, no longer scattering as the day fades. Instead of a loose field of thunderstorms, there is now an identifiable center, still quiet, still relatively weak, but centered, calm at the core. This is the first stage of organization, a system with a name, though not yet a personality. It's a designation that says, this is something now, something to watch, something that has crossed from momentary weather into a small, persistent spiral. To reach this stage, a tropical system needs just a few ingredients. Warm ocean water, still the heart of it all. Moisture rising gently, fueling clouds. And light winds aloft, allowing the formation to hold steady. But now, with the Coriolis effect adding its soft spin and surface pressure dropping, the spiral gains rhythm. Winds must reach at least 25 to 38 miles per hour, barely enough to ruffle palm fronds in the distance. The kind of breeze that might drift through a seaside town, unnoticed by those asleep with windows open. Yet, to the instruments aboard satellites and ocean buoys, this wind speed marks a quiet milestone. The storm is becoming self-sustaining. It feeds on itself gently now. Rising air cools and condenses, releasing heat, which fuels more upward motion. Clouds cluster tightly around the center. Rain bands may form, arcing outward in long, graceful curves. The spiral isn't dramatic yet, but it's real. From high above, you might see it as a soft swirl on the satellite image. Grey and white cloud masses turning slowly, like a seashell opening across the sky. It may not have a defined eye. The center may be obscured, but the rotation is there. The intention is clear. It is, in many ways, a moment of becoming. For meteorologists, naming a tropical depression is a formal step. It means the system is being tracked, monitored, observed for changes. But for those watching with quieter eyes, with curiosity, not concern, this is simply the spiral's first breath. It's the earliest note in a long atmospheric song. And not all tropical depressions will grow louder. Many fade back into the sea, undone by wind shear or dry air, or cooler waters ahead. Others may drift for days, neither strengthening nor dissolving, just spinning softly, whispering across open water. But a few will deepen, the winds will tighten, the center will press lower, the spiral will sharpen. And when wind speeds reach 39 miles per hour, the system earns a new name, tropical storm. For now though, the tropical depression remains quiet. A storm in its earliest form, a lull wrapped in motion, a name given to a gathering of cloud and wind that has learned how to hold itself together. And so we watch, gently, sleepily, respectfully, because even the most powerful storms begin as something small, something delicate, something named only when it is ready. In the soft theatre of the sky, every movement has meaning. Even the unseen motions, like wind travelling high above, can shape what forms below. One of these subtle yet powerful influences is called vertical wind shear. It is not a character in the storm, but a sculptor. A force that, depending on its touch, can either dismantle a developing system or help shape it into something extraordinary. Vertical wind shear is the change in wind speed or direction with height. Sometimes, the winds near the ocean's surface move slowly, while winds higher up in the atmosphere rush along at a different pace, or from a different direction entirely. This difference can create a kind of tilt or tension within a growing storm. When the shear is too strong, the storm's structure becomes strained. Its core may be pulled apart. The delicate balance between rising air, warm water, and central rotation can unravel. The clouds stretch unevenly. The center weakens. It's a bit like trying to build a tower of smoke in a gusty room. It can't hold its shape. But when shear is light or gently layered, something more graceful begins to happen. The storm stretches upward slowly, like a dancer lifting into balance. Columns of rising air align neatly. The heat drawn from the sea is carried smoothly through the atmosphere. The structure becomes elegant, symmetrical even. The storm is able to breathe deeply, exhaling in wide, soft spirals that carry moisture outward in bands. From space, a storm influenced by gentle shear begins to show form. The center tightens. the spiral arms become distinct. Everything begins to organize around a single quiet point. The clouds, once scattered, now circle the low-pressure center in flowing arcs. Wind shear doesn't just affect how a storm looks, it affects how it grows. Too much shear early on, and the storm may never form, but just the right amount, arranged with care by the sky's own hand, can help ventilate the system. It can gently tilt the structure in a way that encourages upward motion on one side and downward motion on the other. A subtle breath in and a subtle breath out. Shear becomes the storm's sculptor, refining its symmetry, allowing it to gather strength without rushing. This balance, this quiet shaping, can make all the difference. Meteorologists watch shear closely when forecasting tropical storms. They study the height of the shear, its direction, its intensity, looking for clues in the upper air that might predict how the storm will move, or whether it will deepen. But to the storm itself, the message is simpler: rise or fall. There's something poetic in that. In the same way, a gentle breeze can shape dunes over time, or ocean currents carve the shoreline. Wind shear sculpts the sky. It asks the storm to respond, to adapt. And when the response is balanced and calm, a kind of beauty forms. A storm that is symmetrical, centered, and ready to grow. So, the next time you see satellite images of swirling clouds over the ocean, consider this unseen hand, the wind shear, gently guiding the shape, not commanding it, but shaping it, whispering through the upper air with the soft power to make or unmake what's forming below. Because even in a world of vapor and wind, it is the unseen touches that guide the shape of everything. Beneath the endless sky, the ocean rests, vast, deep, and quietly powerful. And like a sleeping giant, it stores something vital: warmth. This warmth isn't loud or aggressive. It doesn't surge. It lingers, spreads, settles into the upper layers of tropical waters like a gentle blanket drawn over the sea. For a hurricane to begin, that ocean warmth must reach a certain threshold, at least 26.5 degrees Celsius. Not everywhere, and not all at once, but across a wide enough area to cradle the early formation of a storm. This warmth is the fuel, but not a fuel like fire. Rather, it's like the slow, steady heat of tea in a kettle. The kind of warmth that rises as vapor, quietly, invisibly. As the sun pours energy into the sea, especially in the tropics where its rays fall most directly, the surface begins to respond. The top layer of water, often just a few hundred meters deep, absorbs this light and holds it. Beneath calm skies, the heat remains undisturbed. With little wind to stir the water, the warmth pools gently, becoming more than just temperature. It becomes energy, and the ocean, generous as ever, begins to share it. The air above the surface begins to warm. It takes in the heat like a breath, and along with that warmth, it draws in moisture, evaporated droplets rising upward in a soft, invisible drift. These tiny particles of water vapor are the very first ingredients of a storm. They carry the energy of the sea upward into the sky. As this moist air ascends, it cools. The vapor condenses into clouds, and in doing so, it releases the stored warmth, the latent heat, back into the atmosphere. This process repeats, cycling upward, feeding the growing spiral of cloud and wind. It all starts with the blanket below. Without that ocean heat, the storm cannot form. The clouds remain scattered. The air stays still. The spiral never wakes. But with it, with this slow warmth rising from below, the storm begins to stretch, to breathe, to organize. This is why hurricanes are almost always born over warm tropical waters, why they weaken over land or cold currents. They are creatures of heat, drawn not to fire, but to softness, to warmth held in silence. To watch the sea from space during hurricane season is to see this blanket at work. Satellite images can reveal where the ocean is warmest, where the potential is greatest. These warm pools become the cradles of formation, places where breath meets spiral and moisture meets sky. And still, everything remains slow. The ocean doesn't rush. It gives what it has when it can. And in that giving, a storm may form, but not every time. Sometimes the warmth isn't enough. Sometimes other ingredients are missing. But the blanket is always there, waiting, offering its gentle breath. The ocean's warmth is not dramatic, but it is essential. Without it, there would be no hurricanes, no spirals, no distant shapes in the sky, just calm seas and waiting air. A blanket, a breath, a beginning. There is a place near the heart of the earth where the winds meet, not with force, but with a hush. A region just north and south of the equator, where the trade winds from each hemisphere drift toward each other and converge. This gentle meeting place is known as the Intertropical Convergence Zone, or simply the ITCZ. But more than a name or a line on a map, the ITCZ is a nursery, a soft cradle in the sky, a place where hurricanes begin. Here, the air is warm and thick with moisture. The seas beneath are sun-warmed and calm. The sky is often heavy with clouds, yet not in anger, rather in preparation. This zone moves with the seasons, shifting slightly north and south as the sun does, tracing a sleepy rhythm across the globe. In this tranquil space, the trade winds lose their push. They slow, they lift, and they offer their warmth upward. With little surface wind to sweep the energy away, the moist air begins to rise freely, opening the door for towering clouds to build. This rising motion is the heart of convection. Warm air ascending, cooling, condensing into clouds, and releasing latent heat. As this process repeats, day after day, clusters of thunderstorms blossom in the ITCZ. Some are fleeting, some merge and grow, and some begin to turn. These are the seedlings of tropical storms. From above, this band of clouds stretches like a soft belt across the globe's waistline. A band of greys and whites, of soft flickers and towering cloud tops, all whispering upward in harmony. The ITCZ doesn't roar. It hums. It breathes. It gathers the gentle forces of the ocean and atmosphere and offers them space to combine. And it is this space, this freedom to rise undisturbed, that allows the first ingredients of a storm to meet and mingle. Storms born here do not always grow into hurricanes, but many do, especially when they drift westward, carried by the same trade winds that once brought them into being. As they move across warmer waters and into more favorable conditions, these early systems may strengthen. The Atlantic, for example, often sees storms form off the coast of Africa, in or near the ITCZ, then slowly journey westward toward the Caribbean and the Americas. These are sometimes called Cape Verde-type storms, named for the nearby islands. Their lives often begin as nothing more than a flicker in the ITCZ, a loose swirl among many. But within this soft zone, the potential is there. The ITCZ is not chaotic. It is a balance, a pause, a place where upward motion is constant and calm, where the ocean gives and the sky receives. And so, many of the world's great atmospheric stories begin in this quiet cradle, where winds meet without collision, and the breath of the planet rises slowly into form. Not every nursery brings forth a storm, But every hurricane that does form was once a child of convergence, a gentle meeting, a place of becoming. High above the earth, where the air fades into quiet blackness, silent watchers orbit. Satellites, soft-eyed and tireless, float far beyond the weather they observe. And from that lofty stillness, they see everything, not in words, not in warnings, but in patterns, in movement, in light and shadow. And when a storm begins to form, it is these space-bound sentinels that often notice first. The earliest swirl, a gentle curve in the clouds, a subtle cluster of moisture and motion, can be seen from space before it is felt on the ground. It may be nothing more than a curl in the clouds over the open sea, but to a satellite, it is the first breath of a storm. From above, Earth's atmosphere becomes a canvas. Infrared and visible light paint pictures of cloud heights, temperatures, and water content. Each image is like a portrait, not static, but alive. The clouds move, they pulse, they spiral. Meteorologists study these portraits closely. They watch the clouds for symmetry, for signs of rotation, for patterns that suggest a low-pressure center is forming beneath. They trace the arcs of developing rain bands and look for a clearing at the core, the earliest hints of an eye. The data is constant, but the view is serene. There is no sound in space, no rush, just a slow unfolding. And yet, what satellites reveal is more than just science. It is poetry, a living record of the sky's quiet language. The swirl of a tropical depression, the tightening spiral of a forming storm, the slow dance of clouds around a hidden heart. Satellites can measure wind speeds at the ocean's surface by bouncing microwaves and sensing the ripples. They can estimate rainfall within clouds by tracking how droplets scatter energy. They can even sense temperature changes deep within the storm, revealing the layers that make up its soul. But beyond the numbers, what they offer is presence. Constant, calm presence. Day and night, whether a storm is near or far, the satellites remain. Orbiting, observing, remembering. Every loop of cloud recorded. Every quiet flicker preserved. It is through their eyes that we come to understand hurricanes, not just as weather, but as art, as motion, as story. And in this way, space becomes a companion to the sea, one above, one below, watching, holding, waiting. The satellites do not intervene. They do not control. They witness, and sometimes, in their silent vigil, they are the first to notice when a curl in the clouds becomes something more, when a breath of sky takes shape, when a spiral finds its rhythm. From far above, a storm begins, not with sound, but with form, a fingerprint in the clouds, a sigh across the sea, a story waiting to unfold. There's a quiet shift when a storm crosses a certain threshold. Not a leap, not a flash, just a steady deepening. A low-pressure swirl, once only a tropical depression, becomes something more. When sustained winds reach 39 miles per hour, the system is given a new name, tropical storm. This naming marks more than a category. It signals a change in structure, a sign that the soft swirl is now self-sustaining, that the clouds are no longer scattered, but curved with intent. The center, once vague, has formed a core, and from that center, the winds now spiral outward with quiet strength. From space, the transformation is graceful. You might see long, slender bands of cloud unfurling from the center, like ribbons in a breeze. The storm is not yet fierce, but it is organized, balanced, breathing steadily. Each spiral arm carries moisture outward and draws more inward, feeding the rotation. The rain may come gently or in steady pulses, like the rhythm of waves, The structure, though evolving, is now distinct. Meteorologists begin referring to it by name, chosen from a rotating list prepared before the season began. These names are not warnings, they are identifiers, reminders that this system now carries presence, identity, form. Within the storm, the same process continues. Warm ocean water rises into the sky, lifting moisture that condenses into clouds. The heat released fuels more lift, and the spiral tightens. The storm begins to grow taller. As the columns of rising air stretch upward, they may reach the upper levels of the atmosphere, spreading out into a soft canopy of high cirrus clouds, like the crown of a growing tree. Beneath this canopy, the storm continues to churn, but not yet in anger. It moves methodically, slowly. Winds wrap around the center, curving with the Earth's gentle spin. Pressure continues to fall at the core. The gradient between center and edge increases, and with it, the winds strengthen further. Rain bands extend like arms, reaching far beyond the center. Some regions beneath these arms may see rain, others just soft cloud cover. The storm touches many places before it arrives, and always the ocean gives. As long as the waters beneath remain warm, the system draws from them, slowly, breath by breath. The storm is not explosive. It is sustained, supported, allowed to grow. At this stage, the system may drift, its path guided by large-scale air currents, by ridges and troughs high above. It does not choose where to go, but follows the invisible roadways of the upper atmosphere. Meteorologists begin forecasting its track, gently estimating where the spiral may wander. But in this moment, the storm is simply becoming. Not yet a hurricane, but no longer just a swirl. It has form, it has flow, it has a name. And in the grand, slow dance of ocean and sky, it continues to turn. If the heart of a tropical storm is its calm center, then its limbs stretch far beyond, softly spiraling, quietly sweeping. These are the spiral rain bands, the storm's graceful, reaching arms. They are not chaotic. They do not thrash. Instead, they curl around the central core in wide, elegant arcs, bands of cloud and rain, turning slowly, like the arms of a dancer in slow motion. Each rain band contains a collection of towering clouds and scattered showers. Some bring a steady drizzle, others a brief, hushed burst of rain. But even in their wetness, there is rhythm, a pulse, the feeling of being gently brushed by a living system far away. These bands are born from the same forces as the storm itself. Warm air rises, moisture condenses, and the release of heat fuels further motion. But instead of clustering all at the center, these processes unfold outward, in the spirals. They wrap the storm like a soft shell, sometimes stretching hundreds of miles from the core. Between the bands, skies may clear. There may even be light. These breaks are not signs of weakness, but part of the structure, a natural spacing, like breaths between sentences. Then, the next band arrives, bringing its own quiet rhythm. As the system rotates, these bands sweep across ocean and land one after another. To those on the ground, the passage of a rain band might feel like a shift in mood. The breeze picks up, raindrops fall, tapping softly on leaves and rooftops. Then a pause, and calm again. From space, these arms are beautifully visible, curving tendrils extending from the storm's center, tracing the spiral in delicate strokes. They give the cyclone its shape, its grace, and they are more than beautiful. They are messengers. Rain bands tell of the storm's size, its reach, its balance. A tightly coiled system with well-defined bands may be strengthening. one with broken or scattered arms may be struggling. Meteorologists study them, not just for what they carry, but for what they reveal. Inside each band, winds may gust, but not wildly. The air may feel heavy with moisture, but not menacing. These are not the eye wall's fierce winds. They are the soft signals of a living system passing by. Sometimes, spiral bands can spawn small rotations within themselves, brief, gentle vortices known as mesovortices. They spin within the spin, like dancers inside a larger circle. But often, the bands remain tranquil. Rainfall, wind, pause, then again. These arms continue to reach until the storm has no more warmth to give, until land or cooler waters slow its breath. But while it turns, they are always there, sweeping, spiraling, holding space. They are the storm's embrace, felt softly long before the center arrives. And in their rhythm, we can hear the lullaby of the atmosphere, a song carried on wind and rain, cradled in cloud, whispered across the sea. When a storm grows strong and structured, something begins to form at its very center. It's not a place of chaos or roaring wind, but rather the opposite. A pause, a clearing, a deep breath held within the spiral. This is the eye. The eye of a hurricane is one of the most unexpected features in all of meteorology. A calm, windless pocket tucked within a churning world. As the storm builds, the air at its center begins to sink. While most of the system is pulling air inward and upward, here in the core, the motion gently reverses. Air drifts downward, warming slightly as it descends, and that subtle warmth keeps clouds from forming. The result is a circular chamber of stillness, often open to the sky. From within the eye, the world takes on an eerie kind of quiet. The winds ease, the rain stops, and the clouds may even break. Sunlight filters in, or moonlight, depending on the hour. The view above may reveal stars, or simply the high canopy of cirrus clouds swirling in soft arcs. There is stillness here, not because the storm is weak, but because it is organized. It has found its structure, its rhythm. The storm is breathing deeply now, and the eye is the place where that breath pauses. This calm is not permanent. It moves with the storm, crossing oceans and coastlines, always centered within the wider spin. The diameter of the eye can vary. Some are wide and clear, others tightly wound, but all are surrounded by the same delicate symmetry, the eye wall. To form an eye is to reach a kind of balance. It means the spiral has closed itself into a full circle, that the rising air has curved so completely around the center that it leaves this quiet hollow in the middle. From above, the eye is unmistakable. It appears as a perfect circle, dark against the bright white of the swirling clouds. Some say it looks like a pupil, staring back from the face of the storm. Others say it resembles a seashell, sculpted by the wind. But all who see it agree, it is strangely beautiful. Not every storm forms an eye. Weaker systems may never organize this completely, but when one does, it tells a story of maturity, of symmetry, of power that does not need to shout. Inside the eye, the air is dry, the winds are gentle, and for a moment, everything is hushed. It is a rare kind of stillness, surrounded by motion but untouched by it. A pause in the dance. And like all beautiful things in nature, it doesn't last. The storm will move on, the winds will return, the eye will pass. But for a short while, at the very heart of the storm, the sky remembers how to be calm. A circle within a spiral, a breath within a storm, a silence within the song of wind and rain. Encircling the eye is a band of cloud and wind that moves with quiet intensity. This is the eye wall, the storm's innermost ring. It is where the spiral tightens, where the energy gathers, and where the rhythm of the storm reaches its peak. But even here, there is beauty. The eye wall is shaped like a ring, softly curved, endlessly turning. It forms as warm, moist air spirals inward toward the center, and then lifts suddenly upward, feeding the core of the storm. As it rises, the air cools and condenses into vast, towering clouds. These columns of vapor stretch high into the atmosphere, forming a nearly unbroken wall of weather around the calm center. This is the deepest breath of the storm, the point where pressure is lowest and the winds are strongest, not in a frenzy, but in a focused, circular flow. The air doesn't rush, it rotates. It curves like a ribbon caught in a slow, endless spin. From space, the eye wall is exquisite. It wraps around the eye like the delicate edge of a seashell, spiraling, glowing, sometimes flickering with internal lightning. The contrast between the stillness of the eye and the dense cloud ring that surrounds it is a sight of natural harmony. Within the eye wall, the rain falls in steady sheets, often warm, carried by upward winds. Beneath those clouds, the world feels thick with motion. The air is heavy, the pressure low, the sounds softened by rainfall. But always there is structure. The eye wall is not disordered. It is shaped by balance. The rising air is matched by outflow above. The moisture condenses in rhythm. The energy is exchanged, moment by moment, in a soft and ceaseless cycle. The eye wall may wobble. It may change size. It may be replaced by a second ring in a process called an eye wall replacement cycle. But no matter the change, its purpose remains: to hold the center, to cradle the eye, to form the heartbeat of the storm. And even in this place of greatest strength, the poetry of the atmosphere endures. The clouds don't tear, they billow. The winds don't scream, they turn. This is not chaos, it is choreography. A slow, spiraling ring of power, seen softly, heard only in the hush between rain and wind. A circle that turns, around a stillness that waits. Not all storms are loud, and not all sounds carry the urgency we often expect. Sometimes, a hurricane announces itself not with fury, but with a low, continuous hum. From far away, when the spiral is still hundreds of miles out to sea, you may hear it in quiet moments. A background tone, a breath across the landscape. The sound of a storm far away is not a roar. It's a murmur, deep, rhythmic, almost musical. This sound begins with the wind. As the outer bands of the storm stretch across the ocean, they push the air gently ahead of them. That air brushes against trees, rooftops, and water surfaces. It doesn't crash, it glides. The result is a low, vibrating hush, like the steady draw of a bow across cello strings. There's also the rain, not hard, not stinging, just persistent. The kind that falls in layers, soaking leaves and softening soil. Rain that arrives before the storm does. Rain that feels more like mist pulled downward than droplets falling from above. And the trees respond. You might hear them sway, groaning, creaking softly as they lean into the air's movement. Branches shifting like dancers, leaning into the music of the wind. Everything becomes part of the soundscape. Distant thunder, waves tumbling over themselves, and the occasional hush of wind through tall grass. This is the voice of the atmosphere, carried across distance. Animals sometimes sense it first. Birds fly lower, insects grow quiet. Even people, in moments of stillness, may notice a change. The air feels heavier, sounds carry farther, and somewhere on the edge of awareness, a soft tone persists. It's not frightening, it's grounding, like hearing the tide roll in from beyond the dunes. Like a distant train, always moving, but never quite arriving. To sleep beside a distant storm is to fall into rhythm with it. The hum becomes lullaby. The rain becomes rhythm. The air itself begins to breathe. And while hurricanes can bring intensity, from a distance they feel more like mood than motion. A quiet awareness that the sky is shifting, that something is passing by, far above the waves. Scientists sometimes measure these distant sounds as infrasound, low-frequency waves that travel long distances. But long before instruments, people noticed the same thing. A soft tone in the distance, the breath of something larger than themselves. To be still in such moments is to listen to the earth itself, gently rearranging its heat, softly releasing its energy, and humming its quiet song of balance. Far away, the storm continues its journey. Its center spins, its clouds rise, its bands sweep. But here, where you are now, it is only a sound, a distant hush, a lull, a breath. At their core, hurricanes are not just storms. They are messengers, movers, carriers of balance. They are the Earth's way of gently redistributing warmth, gathering heat from one part of the world and carrying it slowly to another. This process is known as heat exchange. The tropics receive the sun's energy more directly than other parts of the world. Day after day, year after year, warmth pools near the equator. But the Earth, in its quiet wisdom, doesn't keep all that heat in one place. It moves it, shifts it, circulates it, and hurricanes are one of the most elegant tools for this. When a storm forms over warm water, it begins to pull that heat upward. Moisture rises, condenses, releases energy into the sky. That energy becomes motion. Winds curving, clouds building, spirals tightening. But the journey doesn't end there. The hurricane continues to move, usually away from the equator, toward cooler latitudes. And with it, it carries the heat it has gathered. It releases some through rain, some through wind, and some simply through the rise and fall of air. It's not a dramatic gesture. It's a slow transfer, like pouring warmth from one hand into the other. This exchange helps regulate the planet's temperature. It softens extremes. Without storms like hurricanes, the tropics would become even warmer, and the poles colder still. These spiraling systems serve as connectors, linking climates, smoothing edges, helping the Earth breathe more evenly. And the process doesn't stop with the storm itself. After a hurricane passes, the ocean is often cooler. The surface heat has been drawn upward and released. The atmosphere too may feel lighter, its moisture shared across distant landscapes. In this way, a hurricane is not just a weather event. It is part of a cycle, a participant in the planet's long, slow balancing act. This perspective softens the view, no longer just a spiral of wind and cloud, but a vessel of change, a courier of warmth, a turning wheel in the sky's great machine. And like all gentle mechanisms, it moves in rhythm. It rises and turns, glides and fades. And in doing so, it fulfills a purpose larger than itself. The next time you see a storm curving across a satellite image, imagine the warmth it carries, not just in temperature, but in function, in meaning. It is the Earth adjusting itself, quietly, elegantly, with grace, a spiral in service of balance, a breath that carries heat, a soft hand passing warmth across the world. When a tropical storm reaches sustained winds of 39 miles per hour, something quietly ceremonial takes place. The storm is given a name. It's not shouted or engraved in stone. it's gently added to a list, spoken softly by meteorologists, placed into the rhythm of weather reports. A name, simple and human. Anna, Beryl, Claudette, Daniel. A gentle introduction to something vast. The practice of naming storms helps us keep track, not for drama, but for clarity. In the past, before names were used, storms were identified by coordinates or dates. But as the number of storms increased, the need for something more personal, more recognizable, emerged. And so we began to name them. The World Meteorological Organization keeps rotating lists of names for each ocean basin. They alternate between male and female names, drawn from a range of languages and cultures. The lists cycle every 6 years, though particularly notable storms have their names retired, set aside out of respect for the stories they leave behind. There's something calming about these names. They carry a quiet familiarity, short, soft-sounding syllables, names that feel like whispers rather than warnings. The moment a storm is named, it gains identity, not just for scientists, but for all who may watch its journey. It becomes easier to follow, easier to reference, easier to remember. Yet even in this naming, the tone remains gentle. We do not name to frighten, we name to notice. It's a way of saying, this system is real. It has formed, it has grown, and now it enters the weather's living memory. Each name traces a story. Some storms will curve out to sea, never touching land, their names barely whispered before they fade. Others may drift across maps and headlines, remembered for decades, but all begin with the same quiet moment. A storm strong enough to be seen, steady enough to be known, and the names carry more than function. They carry poetry. They move like soft brushstrokes across the map. You might hear, Elsa is swirling gently in the mid-Atlantic, or Humberto is turning slowly eastward. Each one a character in the ever-turning story of the atmosphere. When you hear these names, remember, behind them is structure, not menace. A spiral of water and wind, a system moving heat, a breath of the earth, briefly personified. Even as technology evolves and forecasting grows more advanced, the naming continues. A simple act, a soft signal. This storm is now more than pattern. It is part of the story, a name echoing through weather history, written in the sky, spoken across maps, held in the hush of satellite images. In the world of weather, we often look for ways to describe the indescribable, to place swirling clouds and dancing winds into gentle categories. One such way is the Saffir-Simpson Hurricane Wind Scale. But think of it not as a warning bell, rather as a quiet scale of strength. Ranging from Category 1 to Category 5, this scale offers a soft gradient of growing intensity. Each level marks a rise in sustained wind speed, a deepening of pressure, and a strengthening of structure. It does not shout, it does not judge, it simply measures. Category 1 begins with winds between 74 and 95 miles per hour. Enough to sway trees, enough to form a fully realized hurricane. But still, the early notes of the storm's song. Category 2 climbs a little higher. Winds between 96 and 110 miles per hour. Stronger, fuller. The spiral tightens, the eye deepens. By Category 3, the storm has reached what meteorologists call major hurricane status. Winds blow between 111 and 129 miles per hour. The core of the storm becomes more focused, its structure more complete. Still, from afar, it looks the same, graceful, measured. Category 4 steps further into strength, with winds reaching up to 156 miles per hour. The energy held in the spiral is immense, but still beautifully organized. a storm fully in rhythm. And Category 5, the highest on the scale, is not a scream, but a culmination. Winds exceed 157 miles per hour. The eye is clear, the outflow graceful. From space, it resembles a work of art. Each step on the scale represents more than just wind. It reflects a rise in the storm's capacity to move, to lift, to shape. But always, the scale remains descriptive, not alarmist. A tool to understand, a way to observe. There is something comforting in this quiet classification, a way to place power within context, like describing the tempo of a song or the colors of a sky. The Saffir-Simpson scale reminds us that even the most powerful forces can be understood in steps, in patterns, in peaceful increments. So, when you hear the words Category 1 or Category 5, you can imagine not a threat, but a tone, a note in the symphony of wind. Each number, a deeper breath. Each rise, a stronger swirl. Each category, a soft mark in the sky's language of motion. Hurricanes may seem like great engines of motion, but they do not race. They drift, they wander, guided not by urgency, but by invisible hands drawn gently across the sky. Unlike the suddenness of a thunderstorm or the swift gust of a passing squall, hurricanes are deliberate, measured, almost meditative in their movement. These storms are carried by broad atmospheric flows, not by their own strength. They move with the wind, not against it. High-pressure ridges and low-pressure troughs steer them like soft currents guide a floating leaf. To the casual eye, they may appear to drift aimlessly across the sea. But to the atmosphere, they are following lines unseen. These guiding forces are part of the Earth's larger rhythm. The subtropical ridge, a belt of high pressure that often stretches across the Atlantic, can act like a gentle hand, nudging storms westward. If a break forms in that ridge, a storm may curve north, drawn into a different path. If the ridge stays strong, the storm may continue its slow westward voyage, skimming islands, brushing coasts. But none of this is rushed. Some hurricanes drift only a few miles in a day. Others pause almost completely, spinning in place over warm waters, waiting for a new wind pattern to guide them. And others glide along gracefully, their paths arcing like brushstrokes across a watercolor sea. This slow pace is part of their identity. It allows them to evolve, to grow, to shape themselves layer by layer. While faster moving systems might break apart or lose structure, slow hurricanes can take their time, strengthening, balancing, turning with patience. From a satellite's eye, their movement is mesmerizing. Over hours and days, they shift. A slight tilt here, a subtle northward drift there, like a spiral shell floating on a gentle tide. Meteorologists track these movements carefully, using models and maps, forecasts and data. But even with all our tools, hurricanes can surprise us. A slight shift in the upper air, a gentle tug from a distant pressure system, and the path changes. Not abruptly, not dramatically, just a slow redirection, a new drift. Sometimes they veer out to sea, lost in the vastness of the open ocean. Other times, they meander toward shorelines, arriving like a wave that took days to rise. But always, they move with the rhythm of the sky. To watch a hurricane drift is to witness time slowed, nature unhurried. A spiral adrift on currents older than names, older than memory. And in that drifting, something beautiful. The sky deciding where the sea shall go. The wind guiding the cloud. The hush of a system that does not hurry. A slow traveller, a soft force, a story unfolding one breath at a time. When we think of hurricanes, we often picture wind, the swirling dance of air. But hidden within that spiral is another force, just as important, just as gentle in its own way: rainfall. Hurricanes are great bringers of water. As the storm gathers moisture from the sea and lifts it into the sky, it carries with it the gift of rain. Not always sudden, not always harsh. Often it falls like a steady rhythm, a slow soak that nourishes the earth below. This rain begins far from land, in the storm's spiral arms. Clouds gather, moisture condenses, and droplets begin their descent. Each one a tiny echo of the sea it came from, each one part of the storm's breath. By the time a hurricane nears land, its clouds are heavy with this water. And though rainfall can sometimes arrive in bursts, it often comes in waves. A long rain, a soft patter, a whispering drizzle. This rain feeds rivers. It fills lakes. It seeps into thirsty soil. And when it falls with grace, it restores. It replenishes aquifers hidden deep underground. It helps trees unfurl their leaves. It stirs seeds long buried. It softens the land after heat. Even after the storm has moved on, the rainfall it leaves behind continues to travel. It flows down hills, into creeks, into quiet estuaries. It joins the rhythms of the landscape, moving from sky to root, from mountain to marsh. Meteorologists measure hurricane rainfall in inches, but the experience of it is often more poetic. Rain tapping on windows, rain pooling in garden beds, rain that lingers long after the winds have passed. Sometimes hurricanes stall over a place, releasing hours or even days of rain. In those moments, the rainfall can grow heavy, burdensome. But even then, in the quiet parts, in the gentle hours, the storm's water becomes a soft hand brushing over the land. We often hear of hurricanes in terms of power, but rainfall reminds us of their offering, their ability to bring balance, to quench. In many parts of the world, the rainfall from tropical systems is essential. It keeps ecosystems thriving. It supports crops. It returns moisture to places where the sun has ruled too long. And so, beneath the spiral and behind the wind, there is this gift, a rain that falls not to alarm, but to renew, a hush that settles over fields and forests, the quiet song of water returning to where it once came from ocean to sky to earth. The storm spins, the wind moves, but the rain rests. From the ground, a hurricane may feel vast, but from above, from the eyes of satellites floating in orbit, it looks even more immense, and strangely, even more beautiful. The storm becomes a soft sculpture in motion, a living swirl, a white spiral cradled by the deep blue sea. To those watching from space, hurricanes resemble galaxies. They stretch across hundreds of miles, their spiral arms curving gracefully outward. These arms are not stars, but clouds, layered and folded, woven like threads of soft cotton. They form a canopy, an upper shield of vapor that turns with quiet precision. This canopy is the storm's outer garment, a cloak of high cirrus clouds that fans out in every direction. It spreads in delicate feathers, trailing wisps of ice crystals that shimmer faintly in the upper atmosphere. These clouds are thin but bright, reflecting sunlight and glowing softly in moonlight. Beneath this upper veil, deeper layers swirl. Mid-level clouds turn in bands. Low-level clouds gather in clusters. The entire system becomes a multi-tiered structure, like a wedding cake turned on its side and set into motion. The effect is cinematic. Satellite images show this all in stunning detail. From visible light to infrared, the pictures reveal both beauty and structure. A hurricane seen from space has form and symmetry. a central eye surrounded by a ring of dense clouds, arms spiraling outward like petals of a turning flower, each band curving softly, each layer contributing to the whole. It's not chaos, it's choreography. And within that cloud canopy, so much is happening. Moisture is rising, heat is being exchanged, winds are turning, but from above, all you see is the surface. The topmost part of this atmospheric ballet, a soft, white disk floating on the canvas of the sea. The edges of the storm often blur into other clouds. Outer bands stretch beyond the visible swirl, drifting into nearby systems. Yet the hurricane remains distinct. Its center is calm, its shape defined. Sometimes, aircraft flying above these systems can glimpse the top of the storm in person. Looking down from the stratosphere, pilots describe it as surreal, a flat, endless plain of clouds, glowing like steamed milk under a dim light. Smooth, white, still. The upper canopy also tells meteorologists a great deal. The brightness of the cloud tops, the patterns of their spread, the temperature of the upper layers, all offer clues about the storm's strength and structure. Cold, high cloud tops suggest vigorous convection below. Symmetry suggests organization. Asymmetries suggests struggle. But even without instruments, the view speaks for itself. Here is a storm that has taken shape. Here is the Earth's heat given form. Here is movement made visible in clouds. From space, there is no sound, no urgency, only the turning, only the quiet, only the canopy. A crown of clouds, a galaxy made of mist, a spiral you could dream beneath. Within every storm is a pulse, not one of sound or sight, but of pressure. As a hurricane grows, its central pressure falls. Millibar by millibar, the barometer whispers the change. Slowly, softly, like a heartbeat finding its rhythm. Pressure is one of the quiet forces that shapes a storm, not as visible as wind or rain, but just as vital. At the center of every hurricane lies a low-pressure core. It is this drop in pressure that draws air inward, creating the spiraling winds. The lower the pressure falls, the stronger that draw becomes. But it doesn't fall all at once. It ebbs, it flows. Sometimes the drop is steady. Other times it levels off, as if the storm is pausing to rest. Then it may deepen again, deepening like a slow breath drawn further in. Meteorologists track this pulse closely. A drop of just a few millibars in an hour can signal rapid intensification. A leveling off might mean the storm has reached its peak. The numbers themselves are small, but the story they tell is large. You can imagine the barometer ticking quietly. 990, 985, 972, each mark a whisper, each one a sign that the core of the storm is deepening, centering, strengthening. This drop in pressure helps form the eye. It tightens the spiral, it organizes the structure, and as it deepens, the winds around the center increase, not wildly, but in a measured curl. Pressure is not felt the same way wind is. You won't hear it, you may not see it, but your body knows it. Some people feel a weight in their bones, others feel a hush in the air. Animals grow quiet, the world holds its breath, and as the storm breathes in, the pressure falls. But even this deepening is not loud. It happens over hours, sometimes days, a slow spiral downward. A graceful inward turn. You might think of it like the key of a song shifting lower. The same melody, but deeper, more resonant, more certain. The atmosphere is composing something with purpose. Instruments record it, graphs trace it, maps respond to it. But to the storm itself, it is simply being, a balance between ocean and sky, between heat and motion, a soft, steady pulse at the center of the spiral, Not danger, just deepening. Not alarm, just rhythm. The pressure drops, and the storm continues to turn. A hurricane begins its life fed by warmth, but as it travels, it leaves behind a cooling trace. Beneath the churning winds and spiraling clouds, the ocean responds. It stirs, it sighs, and slowly it cools. As the storm turns, it draws energy from the sea's surface. Warm waters evaporate, rising into the air to fuel the system. But in doing so, the hurricane disturbs the balance. It churns the surface like a spoon gently stirring a bowl, and from below, something changes. Deeper, cooler water begins to rise, pulled upward by the mixing motion of the storm. This process, called upwelling, is like the sea breathing in, taking a slower, deeper inhale. It's a quiet adjustment, but a powerful one. This cooler water doesn't rush. It moves with softness, with patience. Layer by layer, it rises into the space once held by warm currents. And as it reaches the surface, it begins to soothe the storm above. Because hurricanes need warmth, and with the surface now cooling, the storm begins to exhale. This interaction between wind and wave, heat and depth, is part of the natural life cycle of many storms. Not every hurricane weakens from ocean cooling, but many do, especially those that move slowly, especially those that linger in one place for too long. As the storm feeds, it leaves itself less to feed upon. From above, satellites might see the storm's clouds thinning, the eye becoming less defined, the outer bands beginning to fade. But beneath it all, the ocean has quietly changed. Buoys and sensors record the shift. A drop in sea surface temperature, a gentle rise in colder currents. This new coolness acts as a silent boundary, a message from the ocean: enough. Even the sound of the sea may change. With cooler waters, the hiss of waves may soften. The wind, once pulling fiercely at the surface, finds a gentler texture. The storm, still strong, begins to slow. It's not sudden, it's not dramatic, it's just the soft tapering of energy, a downward curve. And as the storm moves on, the sea remains, calmer, stirred, cooler than before. This cooling can linger for days. It creates temporary pathways where future storms may struggle to form. It's as though the ocean remembers, and in that memory there is protection. This is how the earth balances itself, not with abrupt changes, but with slow, atmospheric conversations. The storm speaks in warmth, the ocean replies in coolness. Together, they reach an understanding. So, the hurricane, once powered by a blanket of heat, now drifts over waters that sigh and soothe. A storm softened by its own breath, and the sea rests again. When the sun slips beneath the horizon, the storm does not sleep, but it does change. Night brings a different kind of quiet to the hurricane, a deeper hush, a subtle shift in its rhythm. With no sunlight to warm the clouds, the upper layers cool, the contrasts deepen, the shapes become more defined in the moonlight, or disappear entirely into darkness. But sometimes there are flashes. From within the heart of the storm, lightning flickers, not in bursts of alarm, but in silent pulses, like lanterns behind thick curtains, like the memory of fireflies in a summer field. This lightning, often called storm-top lightning or intra-cloud lightning, dances behind the cloud layers. It's more frequent in intense storms, especially those undergoing rapid growth. But it can happen even in a gentle moment, a slow shimmer, a warm blink in the dark. From space, these flashes are recorded like heartbeats, a constellation of pulses hidden beneath the cloud canopy. They tell meteorologists about the storm's inner energy, about the height of its clouds, about the motion within. But from the ground, the experience is simpler. You might see the entire sky flicker just once, then again, moments later. No thunder, no crack, just the light. It's easy to imagine the storm dreaming. The world around the storm is still. Cities fall silent. Oceans glisten under starlight. Ships turn their bows. The hurricane, turning slowly across the dark water, becomes a silhouette, a shadow, a soft breath on the Earth's face. At night, radar paints the storm in cool colors, blues and greens, purples and soft pinks, the brightness of day replaced by the intimacy of night. Instruments whisper data into the dark. Winds are measured, pressure tracked, rainfall estimated by echoes. But the storm just turns. The eye becomes a deeper well. The bands become waves of darkness. The cloud tops, no longer lit by sun, settle into soft shapes, like mountains asleep under blankets of vapor. Sometimes, aircraft fly through hurricanes at night. Pilots speak of the glow inside, of moments when the entire cabin is filled with a sudden light, then dark again. They fly into the eye, and for a moment see stars above. A calm sky surrounded by movement. Hurricanes do not need daylight. Their engines run on heat, not light. But at night, their presence feels more poetic, more ancient, like something the earth has always known. And when morning comes, the storm remains. But for a few quiet hours, it was only seen by the moon, a slow dancer in the dark, a lighthouse with no sound, a gentle glow in the deep breath of night. Out in the vast open ocean, hurricanes trace their graceful arcs, and sometimes they drift close to islands, not to arrive in full, but to brush past, like a hand softly trailing across fabric. These are the glancing touches of the storm world, near enough to be felt, but gentle enough to leave little more than memory. The rain bands of a hurricane stretch wide, reaching far beyond the core. Even when the eye stays hundreds of kilometers offshore, the outer arms may reach land. They bring passing showers, light breezes, and sometimes moments of golden light filtering through the cloud edge. It's a soft presence, not a full arrival. On small islands, these brushes are felt deeply. A morning that begins still may see a shift in the wind by midday. The breeze picks up, not sharply, but with consistency. Palm trees sway, not in distress, but in a rhythmic nod. The sky deepens in tone. Clouds arrive in elegant procession. The rain that follows may be scattered, a short burst, then quiet again. Or a longer drizzle, steady and warm. Thunder is rare. Lightning is distant. The main core of the hurricane remains far out to sea, a presence on the horizon. These glancing encounters are not without meaning. For meteorologists, they offer opportunities to observe how storms influence the environment beyond their center. Sea levels may rise slightly with the pressure drop. Winds shift in gentle arcs. Birds take quieter routes. Fishermen pause. Boats stay near the docks. But more than physical change, these brushes bring an emotional texture. Islanders often feel a reverence for the sky during these times. The presence of a hurricane nearby is a reminder of nature's scale, not in fear, but in awe. It is humbling, grounding. In the evening, clouds may part just enough to reveal a sunset layered with storm colors. Deep coral, ash gray, soft indigo, a palette painted by the outer reach of a vast system. Some storms curve entirely away, never touching land at all. They complete their journey in the open sea, rising and fading without making landfall. But even they can leave behind a soft signature, a change in tide, a week of cooler breezes, or a story shared over dinner about the storm that passed by. So, when hurricanes brush past islands, they leave more than footprints. They leave traces, feelings, a whisper of wind that said, "I was here," and then moved on. It's nature's way of passing gently, a storm without arrival, a visitor without disruption, a dance along the edges. And sometimes, those are the most beautiful moments of all. Every hurricane is a traveler, but some leave echoes behind, not just in the shape of coastlines or the rhythm of rebuilt towns, but in memory, in science, in the quiet lessons they bring. Storms like Katrina, Sandy, Haiyan. Their names linger, not in fear tonight, but in reflection. In the world of meteorology, each storm becomes part of the record, a chapter in the long book of air and water. These storms are studied for what they reveal: how heat was exchanged, how coastlines responded, how communities prepared, and how they healed. We don't need to relive their harshness here. That's not what this space is for. Instead, let's drift into the knowledge they gave. From Katrina, we learned how the shape of land can guide water, how levees, when overwhelmed, reshape cities. But we also saw how the human spirit responds, how neighbors become caretakers, how scientists refine their models. From Sandy, we saw how timing, tide and moon and storm can converge, but also how coastal designs began to change, how green infrastructure emerged, how nature and engineering found new ways to speak. Haiyan, with its powerful winds and swift motion, taught meteorologists about rapid intensification. It deepened our understanding of warm pools in the sea. It shaped forecasting for similar storms in the Pacific. Each storm, no matter how strong, leaves traces of wisdom. And tonight, we don't call them disasters. We call them teachers. Their names are retired from the lists, not only for reverence, but because they changed the way we see the sky. Each one is honored, not repeated. Their stories are told in textbooks, weather briefings, and quietly in the minds of those who study the clouds. And for those who lived through them, the legacy is even softer. A changed skyline, a rebuilt street, a stronger roof, a deeper knowing. These storms do not define the places they touched, but they do remind us of our place within the atmosphere. We are part of the Earth's gentle rhythms, and sometimes those rhythms become intense. But from every pulse, we learn. So tonight, as we rest beneath calmer skies, we remember the names not with weight, but with wonder, not with dread, but with depth, because even the strongest winds leave space for growth, and even the loudest stories can be retold in whispers. The heart of a hurricane is not thunder or wind. It is something far quieter, something invisible. It is the soft rising of water vapor, evaporation. This gentle process begins at the ocean's surface, where warmth meets water. The sea, heated by days of sunlight, offers itself to the air. Molecule by molecule, water begins to lift, not in haste, but with intention. Each particle carries with it a small bundle of energy, heat tucked quietly away. Evaporation is a silent act. You don't see it, you don't hear it, but it is constant, a whisper from the sea to the sky. These rising molecules form the foundation of storm energy. As they lift, they enter cooler air, and when they finally condense, when they turn back into droplets, that stored heat is released. This release, called latent heat, is the fuel. It warms the surrounding air, making it lighter, causing it to rise even higher. That upward motion draws more air from below. More moisture follows, more evaporation begins, and the cycle spins softly into form. A hurricane is not powered by anger, but by rhythm, by millions of tiny exchanges, evaporation and condensation, lifting and releasing, an invisible ballet playing out over hours, days, across miles of open sea. As clouds build, you may see their tops thicken, puffy at first, then stretching into tall towers. But the source of their growth remains unseen, just warm ocean water, rising with quiet intent. Evaporation doesn't shout, it doesn't surge, it drifts upward, it waits patiently, it hides in the steam above warm tea, in the shimmer above a sunlit lake. In a hurricane, it is multiplied by scale, but not in drama. This process also gives the storm its voice. The humidity, the pressure changes, the formation of clouds, all return to the humble beginning, water becoming vapor. It is an act of transformation, a soft unlocking of energy. At night, when the air cools and the sea remains warm, evaporation continues. Perhaps more strongly, the contrast sharpens. The sea speaks to the sky with more urgency, not in tone, but in volume. More vapor, more lift, more potential for rain. But all of it remains hidden from the eye. Meteorologists measure it indirectly, through temperature, humidity, wind, and satellite data. But even then, they know it's an art of inference. The true engine is invisible, and perhaps that's what makes it so beautiful. As you drift off tonight, imagine this quiet process unfolding beyond the shore. A soft lifting of mist, a warm breath from the sea to the stars, energy rising in silence, a storm growing in elegance. And through it all, the invisible engine turns. Look up into a hurricane's body, and you'll see more than just clouds. You'll see a layered kingdom, a staircase of vapor stretching into the highest levels of the sky. Storm clouds, especially in the heart of a hurricane, don't just float. They rise, they build. Some reach 50,000 feet or more, towering into the lower stratosphere. Their shapes change as they grow, forming soft layers that rest upon one another, like the folds of a skybound quilt. At the base, near the sea, cumulus clouds begin the journey. Puffy and bright, they form from the rising vapor. As they lift and gather moisture, they become cumulonimbus, tall storm towers with powerful vertical growth. These are the pillars of the hurricane, rising with gentle persistence. Near the top, the clouds spread outward. The air is too stable to rise further, so the cloud flattens into what is called an anvil. These anvils stretch out in wide, soft fans, circling the storm's center like the brim of a silken hat. And above even that, thin cirrus clouds trail away. They're made of ice crystals, not water droplets. They whisper outwards in delicate filaments, like threads being drawn from the edge of the storm. Seen from above, this structure is breathtaking. The eye clear and calm, the eye wall tall and spiraled. And above, the cloud canopy, an entire atmosphere in motion, painted in strokes of white and pearl. From below, the experience is more intimate. The sky darkens as the thickest layers arrive. Light filters through in muted tones. It becomes a ceiling of texture, a moving roof. Airplanes that fly through hurricanes pass through all of these layers. They rise from sunshine into grey, into shadow, into the heart of cloud. Instruments record temperature and pressure. Cameras catch glimpses of sunlight piercing the anvil's edge. This layering also tells meteorologists about the storm's strength. Taller clouds mean stronger upward motion. Sharper anvils mean cooler air above. Everything speaks in shape. And when the storm passes, these layers remain for a while. Leftover cirrus veils the sky. Anvils drift and dissolve. Puffy clouds reform in gentle tears. The layered skies are not random. They are memory of motion, of energy, of the path a storm took. So tonight, if you imagine a hurricane, don't picture chaos. Picture layers. Picture a staircase reaching toward the stars. Picture a soft cathedral of air, rising with grace, held together by temperature and breath. A sky that built itself from warmth, and now rests in form. Far above the Earth, satellites drift silently. Their lenses turn toward the tropics, and there, swirling over warm ocean water, they see a form as ancient as weather itself, the eye of a hurricane. From space, the hurricane appears as a vast, spinning galaxy of clouds, spiraled arms, white tendrils, circling movement, and in the center, almost still, is a perfect circle, a hollow space surrounded by fury, yet completely calm within. This is the eye, the storm's breathless center. Its shape is no accident. It forms through the balance of rising air and inward winds. As warm, moist air spirals in, it rises rapidly near the core. That rising motion leaves behind a void, one that fills not with chaos, but with serenity. From above, the eye appears almost sculpted. Its edges are defined by the eye wall, a towering ring of thunderclouds rising like a circular fortress. Inside, the clouds fall away. The air is clear. Sometimes, blue sky is visible. Even stars, if the eye passes at night. Meteorologists study the eye's symmetry. A round, well-defined eye suggests a strong storm, one that has reached equilibrium, the perfect dance of heat, motion, and moisture. It's a sign not of violence, but of maturity. The size of the eye varies. Some are as small as a few miles across. Others stretch for dozens of miles, wide enough to swallow entire cities in their quiet embrace. But within that space, the winds go still, the rain stops, the clouds part. For those below, the passing of the eye is surreal. After hours of wind and rain, there is suddenly silence, a pause. Birds may emerge, light may filter through. It lasts for minutes, sometimes longer. Then the other side of the storm arrives. From space, this moment is frozen. The eye appears as a dark disk in the center of swirling white. Petals of cloud encircle it. The spirals stretch outward, delicate and strong. This balance is fragile. Eyes can wobble. They can shrink, expand, or disappear entirely as storms change in strength. But when captured at just the right moment, the image is unforgettable. In this stillness, meteorologists see elegance, a core of clarity born from motion, a quiet heart wrapped in a robe of cloud. So tonight, if your thoughts are swirling like winds, picture this instead, a round, quiet eye, floating far above the sea, carved by balance, holding stillness in its center. A gentle reminder that even within the grandest of systems, there is space for rest. Out on the open sea, where buoys float like patient listeners and research ships glide beneath distant skies, there's a quiet kind of music playing. It isn't a melody you'd hear in a concert hall. It's the soundscape of the atmosphere, a continuous tone shaped by the breath of the storm. When hurricanes pass near these instruments, microphones pick up more than just gusts. They capture patterns, rhythms, a low hum that builds and fades, not unlike the sound of wind through tall grass or waves brushing against a wooden hull. This isn't the roar that people sometimes imagine. It's gentler, more sustained, a tone that rises with the strengthening wind and falls again as the storm passes. A soft drone, layered with texture, each part shaped by motion through air and over water. This is the wind's voice. It carries the signature of speed, of temperature, of pressure. Researchers call it infrasound, frequencies so low they can travel vast distances. These are the murmurs of the planet, whispering through air. On calm days, the microphones record background tones, waves slapping gently, breezes moving in loops. But when a hurricane approaches, the pitch lowers, the pressure changes. The storm announces itself with gravity, not alarm. Sailors have described it for centuries, not as a scream, but as a steady breath, like a sleeping giant inhaling. One long note stretched over the sea. In the modern world, this soundscape is captured, archived, and studied. Scientists can sometimes detect a storm's development before it is fully formed, just from the way the air begins to sing. These recordings become audio maps of weather. They reveal what satellites see in shape and what radars see in motion. And for those aboard the ships, the experience is unique. Standing on deck, with sensors humming and wind pressing against your coat, the sound becomes part of the experience. A deep presence, not frightening, just vast. Even in coastal areas, sometimes the wind carries the storm's voice ahead of its arrival. A faint rustling in trees, a low tone in windows. It's as if the ocean is speaking softly to the land, preparing it with sound. Tonight, as you rest, imagine this gentle hum. Picture a buoy out at sea, rocking in rhythm. The microphone beneath its surface listening, always listening, to the breeze, to the waves, to the passing of a storm far above. Let that sound be your lullaby, not sharp or jarring, but fluid and slow. A song written in wind, a sigh spoken by the sea. As hurricanes move across land and sea, they carry with them more than just swirling winds. They carry water, sheets of it, threads of drizzle, heavy curtains of rain, gentle mists and soaking downpours. This rain is not always sudden or fierce. Often it comes in pulses, in soft waves, in slow arrival. Sometimes it starts as a hush, a grey veil in the distance. Then, drop by drop, it makes its way inland. The rhythm is mesmerizing. The rain falls steadily, tapping softly on rooftops, on leaves, on window panes. Each drop, a note in a natural lullaby. This is one of the quietest gifts of a storm, a return of moisture to the earth. The land, once parched and waiting, now welcomes the water with open roots. Forests drink deeply, fields sigh with gratitude, gardens glisten, trees bow slightly, not from burden, but from blessing. You might have smelled it before it even arrived, that soft, mineral-rich scent called petrichor. It rises from dry soil as the first rain touches it, releasing the memory of earlier storms. Petrichor is the scent of renewal, of thirst being quenched. Hurricane rain is different from a passing summer shower. It lasts longer. It covers more ground. It moves in bands, feeder bands, spiraling like arms from the center of the storm. Each band carries varying intensity, drizzle, then pause, mist, then a burst, then silence. The cycle repeats. In rural areas, these rains fill wells and replenish aquifers. In coastal regions, they nourish marshes and wetlands. In mountain foothills, the water gathers into rivulets that feed rivers. Slowly, the liquid bounty spreads across the landscape. Even in cities, the rain has its purpose. It washes the air of dust. It cools pavement. It soothes overheated buildings with its gentle rhythm. It invites people to pause, to shelter, to listen. Meteorologists measure this rain carefully, not just for flood forecasts, but for its long-term contributions. Many regions depend on hurricane rain to restore reservoirs and support growing seasons. It's a vital balance, water drawn from the ocean, carried through the sky, and given back to the land. There's a tenderness to this cycle, a circular kindness. The storm takes, but it also gives, and the rain it delivers holds within it the breath of faraway seas. Tonight, if you hear rain outside your window, perhaps you'll imagine its journey. Water that once rose from warm ocean waves, now returning to soil and stone, to roots and rivers, to the earth, a quiet gift, falling drop by drop. From far above, where satellites drift in silence, the coastline begins to shift. Not all at once, not with alarm, but gradually, gracefully. The sea begins to rise, as if responding to a distant breath. This is storm surge. It isn't a crashing wall, it's a steady swelling, a tide that arrives early and lingers longer. Water that comes ashore not by wave alone, but by pressure and wind. At the heart of the storm, air pressure drops. The ocean, sensing this, lifts slightly. Wind then guides the lifted water, pushing it inward, toward land, toward estuaries, toward bays and inlets. The sea level rises, not violently, but insistently, 1 inch, then another, then feet. For those watching from space or from afar, it's like observing a quiet tide with greater purpose. The shape of the coastline changes subtly. Islands grow smaller, inlets swell, low-lying areas shimmer with new water. Birds adjust their flight paths. Crabs scurry toward higher ground. Shorelines hold their breath. Storm surge is often invisible in its early stages. Boats rise in their slips. Marshes widen. The scent of salt grows stronger in the air. And all the while, the ocean continues its slow approach. This movement is gentle in appearance, but wide in reach. It spreads. It pools. It lingers after the winds have gone, a soft imprint of the storm's visit. For meteorologists, it's a quiet signal to observe. Gauges rise. Coastal monitors blink their readings. Forecasts trace the curve of elevation, mapping where the water will gently spread. Storm surge does not roar from afar. It does not shout. It whispers in long, sustained movement. Its path is guided by moon tides, sea temperature, coastal shape, and the breath of the hurricane itself. Sometimes, the surge appears as a calm flood, a steady covering of fields and roads, with no storm in sight. Just the memory of wind and the pull of low pressure. For all its quietness, the surge is powerful in its presence. It leaves behind salt lines on walls, driftwood in fields, and pools where none had been. But in the softest interpretation, from satellite, from distant drone, from a beach dune at sunrise, it is a slow ocean exhale, a pause in the boundary between sea and land. And tonight, as you imagine the shoreline resting under moonlight, you might picture this too. A tide that comes early, a sea that leans closer, a coastline gently redrawn, all under the hush of the sky. In the life of a hurricane, few things are as mesmerizing as the eye. A calm, circular center around which everything else swirls. But eyes, even those made of air and cloud, do not stay open forever. As a hurricane begins to weaken, one of the earliest signs is the slow fading of its eye. It doesn't vanish in a flash. It softens. It folds back into the storm, like the closing of a curtain at day's end, or the slow blink of a sky that's ready to sleep. The eye is only stable when the surrounding winds are strong enough to maintain its structure, when the delicate balance between inflow and outflow holds steady. But as the storm loses energy, perhaps through cooler waters, dry air intrusion, or interaction with land, this balance begins to drift. Clouds slip inward. Wind speeds drop. The crisp edge of the eye grows hazy, then soft, then gone. The central calm is replaced by rising air, forming a patchwork of new clouds where once there was stillness. From satellite views, it appears as if the storm is blinking slowly, then sleeping. A slow motion exhale from from the sky. And yet, even as the eye closes, it does so gently. Not a collapse, but a release. A letting go of form and focus. A spiral unwinding back into mist. Meteorologists note the change. They speak of eye wall replacement, decay, weakening cores, but above all, they watch the softness return to what was once sharply defined. In a strange way, the eye that disappears is not a loss, but a transformation. A return to a more fluid state, no longer holding tight to symmetry. The storm becomes more like a regular low-pressure system, still moving, still swirling, but less focused, less intense. Sometimes a new eye forms in its place, smaller, offset, imperfect. Other times, the storm continues on with a blurred center and trailing clouds. But always, the original eye closes like a sigh. So, if you ever look at satellite images and see a perfect circle vanish overnight, know that you're witnessing something rare and beautiful. The sky tucking itself in, a final blink, a quiet fold of atmosphere, a storm ready to rest. The air above us is never still, though it may seem that way. It moves not just sideways in wind, but upward and downward, through patterns of pressure that rise and fall with the breath of the earth. Atmospheric pressure, the gentle weight of the air above, is one of the quiet sculptors of storms. When pressure is high, the air presses downward. It feels settled, clear, calm. High pressure systems are often associated with blue skies and still evenings. A comforting weight that holds clouds at bay. When pressure is low, the air is rising. It lifts moisture, stirs winds, encourages clouds to form. Hurricanes are born from these low-pressure centers. They are nature's gentle attempt to balance the uneven warmth of the earth. But this movement of pressure is not abrupt. It drifts. It flows like tides in the sky, rising, falling, curving. In a hurricane, the central pressure is the lowest point, a deep valley in the atmosphere. The lower the pressure, the stronger the surrounding winds. Like air sliding down a slope, the wind rushes inward, curving because of Earth's rotation, spiraling because of the balance between pressure gradient and Coriolis force. Barometers measure this with quiet precision. Numbers fall millibar by millibar. Meteorologists watch for these subtle cues. A pressure reading that drops steadily signals a storm gaining strength. A pressure that rises suggests a system relaxing. But for those of us simply resting under the sky, pressure feels like mood. On low pressure days, the clouds linger, the rain may fall, and the air feels open. On high pressure days, the sky is sharp, the edges of things more defined. Even in our bodies, we sometimes feel these shifts. A heaviness in the joints, a lightness in the chest. It's subtle, like background music from the sky. So, when you think of storms, think of pressure not as force, but as shape, as the soft architecture of the air, hills and valleys carved in the invisible. And in a hurricane, that central pressure tells a story of quiet imbalance, a soft hollow in the sky, around which clouds and wind gather, a breath drawn by the earth. And when the pressure begins to rise again, the storm lets go. Balance returns. The weight of the sky settles once more. All things that rise must eventually quiet. And so it is with hurricanes. After days adrift across the sea, after long hours spinning slowly in rhythm with ocean and sky, the storm begins to let go. Dissipation is not a dramatic collapse. It is a soft farewell. Sometimes land steps in. The warm, moisture-rich ocean can no longer feed the swirling system. Without its energy source, the storm exhales. Its eye closes gently, like a slow blinking sky. the organized spiral begins to unwind. Other times, it is cooler water beneath that calms the storm's hunger. The sea, once warm enough to fuel evaporation, now offers little heat. The clouds respond with less fervor. The spin slows. The center unravels. There are also winds aloft, sheer, quiet, and unseen, that stretch the storm's top layers away from its base. Like a painter brushing across wet ink, the structure becomes smeared. The shape dissolves. The dance falters. What was once a hurricane now becomes a memory of one. Clouds stretch and scatter. Rain bands pull apart. The spiral uncoils, and the storm, once given a name, becomes simply a low-pressure remnant. But even in this phase, there is poetry. The winds, though less fierce, still whisper their stories through fields and forests. The rain, though lighter, still nourishes. The clouds, no longer tightly wound, drift across the sky like wandering thoughts. Dissipation leaves behind textures, damp earth, glistening streets, puddles that mirror the clouds above. And it leaves impressions, the softened outline of a system that once spun with grace and force. To meteorologists, this is a moment of reflection. Satellites still track the fading clouds. Instruments still record the last sighs of pressure drop. But the maps show a gentler swirl now, less defined, less intense, still beautiful. The remnants of a hurricane may continue to travel. Sometimes they stretch across continents, bringing cloud cover and rain to distant places. Other times, they are absorbed into larger weather systems, their energy passed along like a whispered tale. And so, the cycle softens. What once drew eyes from space and names from lists returns to the sky, to become mist, to fall as rain again, to rise once more in a different breath of wind. Tonight, as you rest, you can imagine this soft conclusion. A storm that spun with strength, now slowly unraveling, like a lullaby reaching its final note. Nothing vanishes. It only changes form. A swirl becomes a drift. A name becomes a memory. A storm becomes sky again. High above the ocean, where the air grows thin and clouds stretch wide, a special kind of aircraft flies, not to escape the storm, but to meet it. These are the hurricane hunters. Their mission is not conquest, it is understanding. The planes they fly are strong, but not loud. Inside, the mood is focused, calm. Scientists and meteorologists sit beside windows clouded with mist, watching instruments that quietly record the language of the storm. This is a sleep lab of the sky. The aircraft enters the outer edges first. Light turbulence, moisture-laden winds, gentle rain pattering against the fuselage. As they move inward, the readings begin to shift. Wind speed, pressure, temperature, humidity, each variable telling a part of the storm story. They pass through spiral rain bands, those long, curving arms that wrap around the storm's center. Then comes the eye wall, a place of towering clouds and quickened air. Instruments hum, data streams. Still, there is no panic, only presence. Then, suddenly, they are through, into the eye. In the eye, it is quiet. The light is often strange, soft, diffused, sometimes golden. The air is smoother. Around them, the walls of cloud rise like the edges of a great bowl. The heart of the storm, peaceful and suspended. The plane loops through the system, taking multiple passes. With each run, they gather more information on structure, strength, and shift. Dropsons, small cylindrical sensors, are released into the storm. They fall gently, parachuting through layers of air, reading every moment as they descend. This data is fed to computer models, to satellite teams, to weather centers. It helps refine forecasts, track paths, and predict changes. But beyond the practical, There is something poetic in the act itself. Humans floating inside a storm, not to fear it, but to listen. Each reading is like a note in a symphony. Wind speed becomes tempo. Pressure becomes tone. Humidity, the rhythm of breath. And when the flight ends, the data continues its work, quietly improving our understanding, gently shaping the future of weather prediction. So tonight, as you imagine the sky above the sea, picture this: a small plane floating through cloud. Calm people gathering quiet truths from a swirling system. Instruments blinking softly. Notes being taken in the hush of the storm's breath. Science doesn't always roar. Sometimes it listens. And in the sleep labs of the sky, the atmosphere tells its stories, one gentle reading at a time. Somewhere on an old map, there are lines that twist and turn, soft arcs across oceans, curling like tendrils of ink or wind-blown ribbon. These are the footprints of storms, hurricanes from years past, etched not in sand, but in memory and meteorology. Each track tells a quiet story. They begin in familiar places, the warm tropics, the breath of the ocean. Each line begins as a faint curve, unassuming, then spirals gently, drawn north or west, pulled softly by high-pressure ridges or distant wind currents. On paper, the paths are delicate. Blue lines, grey dashes, arcs and hooks. Some loop in wide circles. Others drift in long, sweeping strokes that stretch across entire seas. They are not random. They follow patterns, shaped by ocean temperatures, seasonal winds, and the quiet choreography of Earth's atmosphere. The Atlantic, the Pacific, the Indian Ocean, each has its own script, its own rhythm. These historical tracks are more than just data. They are memories, preserved in motion. The path of Hurricane Donna in 1960, which twisted across the Caribbean and into the eastern United States. The unusual loop of Hurricane Jeanne in 2004, like a pause and a second thought. The long journey of Typhoon Tip in 1979, the largest cyclone ever recorded, curving across the Pacific like a brushstroke. Meteorologists study these tracks to understand the habits of storms, to compare, to learn. Patterns emerge, some comforting, some surprising. Where storms tend to form, where they usually travel, where they tend to fade. And over decades, a kind of art reveals itself, a gallery of motion, a canvas painted with the soft turns of time and weather. In this swirling cartography, there is rhythm. El Niño years shift the pattern. La Niña years move it back. Climate trends gently alter the paths, creating slow change, season by season, storm by storm. Tonight, imagine those maps, not flat and factual, but alive with stories. Each spiral a whisper of wind, each curve a dance of clouds, a record of breath moving over the ocean. Historical storm tracks remind us that the sky remembers, that hurricanes are not isolated moments, but parts of a larger, unfolding melody. And like constellations of motion, they remain quietly drawn across time. The equator, a wide belt encircling Earth, dividing north from south, day from night, season from season, a place of balance, of symmetry, and for hurricanes, a line that cannot be crossed. Though the waters here are warm, perfect for evaporation, perfect for cloud formation, hurricanes never truly begin at the equator, and they never pass through it. Why? It's all about the Earth's spin, the Coriolis effect. Every spinning object has a center, a still point, a place where motion balances out. For our planet, that still point lives along the equator. Here, the Coriolis effect, Earth's gentle twist that turns storms into spirals, is weakest, almost non-existent. Without this spin, there's no curl, no structure. The air may rise, Clouds may gather, but the rotation never begins. The storm remains unformed, like a dancer with no direction. Farther from the equator, the Coriolis effect strengthens. North of the line, hurricanes spin counterclockwise. South of it, they turn clockwise. But on the equator, there's no push, no guidance, just balance. Meteorologists watch this with fascination. It's not just theory, it's rule. No storm has ever crossed the equator with force. The few that have wandered close have lost their structure, like music fading as it nears silence. This invisible boundary is a quiet governor of storms. It shapes the map. It sets limits. It reminds us that even in chaos, there are borders made not by land, but by physics. And yet, the equator plays its role. It warms the air. It feeds trade winds that blow outward and upward. It helps form the intertropical convergence zone, the nursery for storms, just north or south of the line. The equator is a giver, a lifter, a source of energy, if not direction. From above, satellites see the calm belt that wraps the planet. Cloud clusters form nearby, then drift away, gaining motion as they rise into latitudes where spin can shape them. The equator is like the breath between thoughts, a space where the storm pauses, a place of potential without spin. So tonight, as you rest, imagine this invisible line around the Earth, a place where the air is warm, the ocean is deep, and yet the sky remains still, a balanced center in a world of motion. A line storms cannot cross, a boundary written not in walls, but in wind. Every year, the calendar brings a quiet rhythm, not one marked by clocks or bells, but by temperature, moisture, and memory. From June through November, the Atlantic begins to listen. It's not a sudden arrival, but a gradual awakening. This is hurricane season. It's not loud, not chaotic. It begins with a quiet shift, water warming under long days, air growing more humid, skies changing in texture and depth. A seasonal breath begins to form, drawn slowly across the tropics. The atmosphere becomes more willing. The sea becomes generous with its warmth. Winds soften just enough to allow vertical motion. The ingredients align, not always, but sometimes in a delicate harmony. June is often a whisper, a few early stirrings. July begins to hum, and by August and September, the season reaches its soft crescendo. These months hold the warmest waters and the calmest upper winds, conditions just right for the slow formation of storms. Meteorologists mark this rhythm on charts and satellite loops, but it's more than numbers. It's a seasonal mood, one the Earth knows by heart. Just as leaves change with autumn and snow drifts with winter, the tropics sway with this invisible tide. In the Pacific, too, another season flows. In the Indian Ocean, monsoon patterns shape their own timing. Each basin on Earth has its own melody, its own version of the storm song. During this time, weather agencies watch closely, not with fear, but with fascination. They name storms, they map their paths, they whisper to the public, something is forming slowly over open water. But the season isn't just about the storms that arrive, it's about the quiet conditions that support them, the gentle warming of oceans, the tender lifting of air, the quiet stillness that allows clouds to gather. And when the season ends, often in late November, there's a soft exhale. The Atlantic cools, winds return, the ingredients drift apart, and the sky becomes less willing. But the memory of the season lingers, in data, in stories, in maps of spiral motion drawn across sea and time, a rhythm, a breath, a song of air and water that returns every year. Across the Atlantic, carried on high winds, drifts something quiet. It's not rain or cloud or even water. It's dust, fine grains of Saharan sand, lifted skyward and floated westward by the breath of the earth. This dust has a name, the Saharan air layer. It forms in the dry heat of the desert and sails out over the ocean, a vast golden plume stretching from Africa to the Caribbean. It glows in satellite images, like a soft veil spread across the tropics. But this dust does more than shimmer. It speaks to the storms. Saharan dust carries dry air, very dry, and dry air is a quiet suppressant. It soaks up moisture, tames convection, and gently stifles the warm, rising breath that hurricanes rely on. It doesn't stop storms with violence, it calms them with dryness. Sometimes, a forming storm meets this layer, and the dust simply says no. Clouds collapse, energy fades, the spiral weakens, curls inward, and disappears. At sunset, this same dust paints the sky with colour, rosy golds, amber hues, soft coral streaks. It turns the evening into a watercolour, and while the dust may delay or deny storm formation, it also feeds distant forests. Once it settles over the Amazon, it brings phosphorus, nourishment from faraway sand, a gift from one continent to another. So, when you hear of Saharan dust, don't picture a storm blocked in battle. Picture a soft silence drifting through the sky, a dryness that tempers the swirl, a sky made pastel, an ocean made still, a desert's hush spoken across the sea. The journey ends not with a crash, but with a sigh. What once spun with structure and force now drifts into dissolution. The eye fades, the bands unravel, the warm core cools, the winds loosen, the storm forgets its name. This is the dissipation, the soft farewell of a hurricane. Sometimes it happens over land, as hills and mountains disrupt the flow. Sometimes it happens over cooler waters, where energy no longer feeds the spiral. Sometimes it's the dry air, arriving gently to remind the storm it's time to rest. Clouds thin, rain tapers, winds fall quiet. What remains is cirrus, high feathery trails stretching across the upper sky, a mist near the horizon, a memory in motion, the last breath of a storm drifting into atmosphere, and the ocean, once stirred, begins to still. Waves settle, temperatures balance, the sea returns to rhythm. In this quiet, there's reflection, not of damage or fear, but of nature's soft mechanics. Heat moved, water cycled, air shifted, and the atmosphere, once busy with spirals and sound, returns to silence. Satellites lose interest. Meteorologists turn to new formations. The storm, once named, becomes archived, a story shelved in the sky's library. But for those who watched, who listened, there is still a softness left behind. The hush after rain, the clean scent of petrichor, the damp leaf, the washed stone, the still pond. This is the peace that follows. A final swirl, a sigh into mist, a return to calm. The storm is gone, but the sky remembers. And now it rests. And as our hurricane journey draws to a gentle close, may the soft spirals, the whisper of warm waters, and the quiet strength of the storm leave you feeling safe, soothed, and held tonight. These swirling systems that rise from the ocean are not only powerful, they are rhythmic, balanced, predictable in their own poetic way, like a breath drawn by the earth and slowly released. May that rhythm echo in your own body now, a breath in and out, slow and steady. I hope this quiet voyage through the life of a hurricane brought you a deeper sense of peace, and perhaps a new appreciation for the sky's slow stories. If you'd like to support these gentle weather journeys, you're always welcome to like or subscribe. only if it feels restful to do so. There's no rush, no pressure, just calm skies and curiosity. For now, you can let yourself drift. Feel the clouds soften above you. Let your thoughts dissolve like mist. You've arrived. Good night, dear friend. Peaceful dreams. Calm skies to you.